The Big Play Reflog Show is brought to you by ShackNews.com. Shack News, your go-to for gaming news, covers all your gaming content needs, including their featured article about the upcoming Shack News E4 2020 event. Long time coming here with Corona, where they will be releasing 3 days of really amazing content, followed by a stream with a special celebrity guest on June 11th. Remember, Shack News, your go-to site this summer for video game content and live streams. So go visit their website when you're sitting around, catch up on all that is gaming. Go check them out on Twitter, Facebook, and most importantly, Switch, and ShackNews.com. Go check them out, guys.
Hi, everyone. Tim Kitzrow from NBA Jam and NFL Blitz. You're listening to the best podcast on the air, Boom Shakalaka.
Okay, do you need medical attention?
Yeah.
What is wrong?
I don't know. I ain't no goddamn doctor.
Free Shakalaka. Reflog. It's just golfer backwards. Boom Shakalaka.
Welcome to the Big Play Reflog Show. Today is Monday, June 1st, 2020. I am your host, Big Play Dave, alongside my man, Mr. Chris McNeil. Chris, how are you, sir?
We made it to June, almost halfway there in 2020.
Oh, can't believe it. Can't believe it. And the always lovely Breezy Clee. Bree, how are you?
Hello. I think a little sunburned today, but...
You know what? Those glasses are covering it up perfectly. Don't even worry about it. Oh, man. How you guys doing?
Hey, in the context of everything else going on, I have no complaints right now. There's a lot of tough conversations being had. It's tough times. I mean, with all the riots going on, I understand both sides of what's going on here. I think right now, unfortunately, we're on a road that I hope ends well. I'm really concerned about where we're headed, though, in some respects. But, I've always looked at kind of the government. You got the three different branches, right? The judicial, the executive, and the legislative. And I've always thought the fourth branch is really the people. And if those other three branches aren't really working very well, you have that fourth branch. And I think that's the case right now, is those three aren't working very well. You got the fourth right now that's kind of in overdrive. And hopefully, this all makes us better in the end. But it's tough as you're going through it,
Yeah, it's been a long year. I can't believe it's only June. It doesn't. It's surreal. I mean, it feels like this year has been like 5 years. It feels like Kobe died like 12 years ago. It makes no sense. Yeah. And I've spent the past few days doing just kind of a lot of listening, checking the Twitter feed, shedding a lot of tears over a lot of these videos that you see online. And social media has brought a lot of this to light over the last, 5 years or so. There's a guy on Twitter who I follow, Ricky Smith. He does a ton of awesome stuff for the city of Cleveland, Ohio, through his company Rake. And he tweeted this out. I just wanted to share it with everyone. He said this, and I think it kind of hits the nail on the head. The issue isn't the bad cops, bad apples. There's always going to be bad cops, bad apples, as long as there's bad people in the world. The issue is the good cops, the good apples, not working to get the bad cops, the bad apples out of the department, the precincts, the bunch. And I think that hits home with everyone, and I think it speaks to more than just cops. So, I mean, if you're listening, speak out against racism. Look out for people in your life, whether that's on Twitter or, more importantly, in your everyday life. just be good to people, especially the black community right now, because they need white people to stick up for them. And Bree, I know you've done an awesome job on Twitter. I'm sure you're getting a lot of hate from crazy people because it is the internet. Let's face it.
Yeah.
But
unfortunately,
I think you're doing an awesome job out there on Twitter. So I just want to say thank you to you. I didn't know if you wanted to say anything.
Thanks, Dave. Yeah, I a couple of things to add, and I cleared this with both Dave and Chris, but I also do an all-female sports podcast on Tuesday nights, and we will cover this topic in further detail tomorrow. If you want to tune in, we'll probably go live around 8:30, but you can always catch it on podcast to download. But it's That's What B Said, and yeah, I'm typically someone that doesn't like confrontation. I tend, even in real life, to avoid it at all costs. I like to be a middleman, a peacekeeper maybe. And for whatever reason, I knew that deep down that wasn't a stance that I felt comfortable with right now. And as my platform has grown on Twitter and social media, I felt like I was doing a disservice to the community, to my fellow followers, of not taking a stance, and I don't want to be in the middle. And I was moved to just start openly speaking about it, and not only just talking about it, but making a difference, making donations, figuring out how I can get actively involved in the community. I would love to be part of the protest, but I'm a mom, and my kids got in the way over the weekend. But I just want to say, I just urge everyone to educate themselves. And if you are a white person, just listen. It is not up to the black community to educate you on what you need to do better with. So I'm trying to actually put some stuff out there to, if you're open to it, to learn, to listen, and read on your own. And we'll all be stronger, better together.
I love it. Let's go into some Power Rank Monday and go check out Bree's podcast tomorrow, which, by the way, she's never asked us to be a guest on, me or Chris.
No.
Just throwing that out there.
We would love to have you on, but listen, I
don't have time for it. I'm sorry.
in charge of the production, and I am really bad at that. So I have to get some things figured out first before we can have any guests on to experience the technical difficulties.
Yes, that's what it's all about, technical difficulties. Let's go to Power Rank Monday.
It's time for Power Rank Monday.
All right, so it is summer. We need something to make us feel good. So tonight we are going to Power Rank top 3 all-time songs of summer. Who wants to kick it off? Chris, you want to kick it off?
Oh, absolutely. Dave.
All right, let's do it.
So my number 3.
Oh, I hit the wrong button. Hold on.
Ding.
There it is. Technical difficulties.
I went walk-up music. Walk-up music, okay? So I've got a couple of these. You guys are going to have to tell me the Indians player whose walk-up music this is.
Oh, jeez.
Or was at one point. Cheerleader by Ami. Ami? Is that who it is?
I don't know this song.
Remember that song?
Chris, sing it to us.
No, absolutely not. You guys don't know
wait a
Cheerleader?
minute.
It's like from 3 or 4 years ago.
Cheerleader.
You have like 4 things written here, though. I'm confused. Do you have 4? Or is this Cheerleader and Thief?
No. Cheerleader is by Omi. It's by that band or performer.
What is Thief by Uke?
Yeah, what did you
That
write?
is Jason Kipnis.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, I knew that was Jason
No,
Kipnis.
no, Chris, you have 4, not 3.
Oh, I've got 2. Well, yeah, okay. I've got 4. I did 2 for this because I started putting down Cheerleader and I thought, oh, Thief by UK. Nobody knows what that is. And then,
yeah,
course,
I 100% do. That's a great
You guys
song.
don't know who Who had Cheerleader?
I don't know Cheerleader, no.
Frankie Lindor. Frankie Lindor did. Yeah.
Oh.
My number 2. Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. I remember when Wayne's World came out and there was the resurgence of this song for that summer, and everybody was doing the head bob, the head bobbing. What am I talking about? Head banging, in the car over the summer. And that became kind of an anthem for that time. So yeah, definitely Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. And then my number 1.
Wait, who was Bohemian?
player?
I remembered being played at.
No, that wasn't the walk-up song. That was just for number 3.
No, I kind of remember someone having that.
All of them were.
No, not all of. I said for number 3, I went walk-up music.
Okay.
For number 2, I went more traditional and just picked a song.
Well, you know what? Me and Bree aren't very good at listening, so go ahead with your number 1.
I hate you all. My number 1, This Is How We Do It by Montel Jordan.
Good choice.
Wow.
Mid-90s, Kenny Lofton's favorite song. He would blare it in the locker room after wins. Albert Bell hated it, but who cares? It was just the song of the summer for the 90s as we celebrated those great Indians teams.
I love it. That is a good list. And Bree, you said you were putting together a little playlist based off of this power ranking, so I like that. I will say this.
Yes.
So everyone's been in quarantine for 7 years. And so I do this thing with my kids where we do a cleanup party, like to clean up the whole house.
Oh, yeah.
And we play music. And this song did not make my list, but for some reason we play what's it called? Thrift Shop by Macklemore. You know that song?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
It's like, hey, Macklemore, I want to go thrift shopping. And so I play that for these cleanup parties. And the kids clean up the whole house. They have to clean it up real quickly during this song. And it was at the point where, I'd say, all right, time for a cleanup party, blast the song, blast that music. Now it's at the point where I just can play that song and the kids start cleaning. It's incredible.
Pavlov's dog, man. Pavlov's
incredible.
Dog. Well done.
I have trained these kids.
Yes.
That's what I've done in quarantine. All right, my list, number 3. California, Tupac, instant classic, summer song. Nothing needs to be said about that. It makes the list. Number 2, my favorite band, AC/DC, Shoot to Thrill, one of the greatest songs. Just you blast that song, and it feels like summer. Grab a nice Bud Heavy or Bud Light beer, and you're on your way.
Feeling the AC/DC vibe. We don't talk enough AC/DC on this show, so way to bring it in.
Yes.
Bernie Kosar would appreciate that. That was his run-out music, was AC/DC back at Miami, back at the U.
Was it really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Was it Thunderstruck? I think it may have been Thunderstruck. Don't quote me on this. I'm sure people in the comments are going to correct me. But it's definitely AC/DC. I know that.
Very cool. One of the best bands of all time. And my number 1, Say Hey. You guys know this song? Say Hey, I Love You.
Can you sing it?
Oh, God. No.
You don't want to?
It's like, say hey, da 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 da. It's like a beach song. So I went to Hawaii. My best friend lives in Hawaii, and he's lived there for like the last 10 years, and I got to go visit him, and we sat on a beach and listened to that song, and it just reminds me of Hawaii, which is just like June in Cleveland.
So on Twitter right now, one of my favorite followers said, "Dumbass McNeil can't properly count to 3, and he picks the worst possible songs for summer. Big surprise, McNeil sucks once again." So there we are,
dude. How did Dave Matthews make your list?
I definitely had them on the list originally, and I was like, we talk way too much Dave overall, so I took him off. But Dave rules the summer. I mean, I am missing out so much by not having his concerts. I mean, I'd always go to at least 2 because he'd usually have about 3 in Ohio, Cincinnati, Columbus, and Cleveland. I'd go to 2 of the 3, but this year, of course, he's doing 0. So I am in Dave with a withdrawal.
I feel like that was probably like a Dave superfan. Now you've totally redeemed yourself.
Right. I assure you he was not a Dave superfan. And he'll whip on me for this.
What's your top 3 songs of the summer?
All right, guys. I kind of went down the 90s route, just FYI. So number 3, Coolio, Fantastic Voyage. You guys remember this one? I remember this music video. Oh, God, yeah. Come along and ride with me.
Fantastic song. Fantastic song. Great song to add to this list. Good work.
Number 2, also a classic when you hear the beat drop, Always Be My Baby, Mariah Carey. You guys remember this one?
No, please sing it.
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right.
Come
I flipped
on.
the station. I flipped the station right there.
No, it was so good.
Even before
she,
she gets to the lyrics, I flipped that station.
was
every
like,
time.
this was one where she was at the theme park for her video,
Is
right?
is this her Christmas song?
No, also a great song. Okay, and finally, my number one, the man himself, Nelly. Hot in her.
So hot it hurts,
Nelly,
Bree.
Wow.
like, this by far, like, his albums were my absolute favorite albums, but I remember specifically being 16 and going to a club and just going ham to this song.
Going
Bree,
ham.
so we're
Like, I was
relatively
club.
we're like relatively the same age. You're a little younger than me, but Nelly, how big was Nelly in high school?
Huge.
Huge. Country
Like,
Grammar.
every single country. I mean,
Grammar was
my
huge.
husband and I were just talking about this the other day, like how big of a deal it was to like when you go buying the Nelly CD and like literally listen to it nonstop.
Oh
best.
yeah, it's incredible. I believe my
School and college
AOL
years.
AIM had a Nelly quote in it.
Me
for
too!
like for oh
Me too!
wow.
Oh.
Wow. All right, we have to move on. We're gonna ask Joe
And
Noga.
By the way, you can't ask Joe Noga his because he says he's got some good summer songs for us. So
Oh, okay.
We can or cannot.
we can.
Oh, okay. I
We
thought it was an
can.
exclusive list here. All
He
right, let's.
He just texted me offline and said you got to ask mine, so we will.
We are going to do that, and we're going to talk a little Tribe baseball with @Joe Noga Clee, the one and only Joe Noga. Let's bring him in for our featured interview of the week. So he is a sports reporter for Cleveland.com as well as plain dealer. The one and only, it's been way too long, Joe Noga. Joe, welcome back to the Big Play Reflux Show. How are you, man?
It's great to be back. Great to be online with you guys again. And the times so I'm not as put off.
You know what? You broke up a little. What'd you say? Were you making fun of us?
No, I was making fun of myself. The headshot used in the background there isn't as pronounced this time.
Oh, I do remember last time we did have it on the big screen in the studio back here. So, Joe, do you have a photo that you'd rather us use? It's limited on Google.
No, well,
We need a new headshot, Joe.
anything would be inaccurate right now because during this quarantine, I've been growing the most glorious bald mullet you have ever seen. I dyed it blonde. I've got my wife and family are all very concerned. I'm going
Horrified.
through some sort of crisis. Yeah, it's horrific. I vowed not to cut my hair until my kid played his first baseball game in the summer this year. So that's coming up hopefully soon in a week or two.
Well, Joe, my son's baseball just got canceled, so I hope yours does not get canceled. Because that could get ugly.
That's what we've been crossing our fingers. Yeah, definitely. I'm hoping no baseball gets canceled from here on out, and then we actually get to see some major league games at some point.
That would be nice. All right, so before we get into the Tribe and Cleveland baseball, top 3 songs for the summer. We're building our playlist. What do you got for us?
All right, the folks that cover ball games with me in the Indians press box are going to love this one. "Without Me" by Eminem, the
Nice.
clubhouse
Yes.
song that was always bumping when we would be in the utility room interviewing Tito after a game, after a win. They would definitely be bumping Eminem, and we'd all just start bobbing our heads. That's going to forever be attached to summer for me from last season. Number 2 would be "Dangerous Connection" by OAR.
OAR, yes. Back to high school. I love it.
High school, heck, I go see him at Nautica every summer. It's a great show. That is
that's
the best
awesome.
venue to see a show.
Yes.
It's so wonderful. And I had to do right by McNeil and put "Gray Street" by Dave Matthews Band as number 1.
Boo!
Back in the summer of 2006, I saw Dave 3 times in 3 different states, and "Gray Street" killed on every show. It was the song of that summer for me.
Joe Noga, my favorite guest that we ever have on. Thank you, Joe. We were saying the list was lacking without Dave Matthews. You have fulfilled that.
That's
We have
right.
fixed that righted that wrong tonight.
All right, Joe.
Everyone has a purpose and a meaning. That's me.
That's yeah, right. All right, let's talk baseball. Are we going to play this season?
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
I feel 100% certain, especially after the developments of the last 24 hours, that we are going to see baseball in some form, one way or another, whether it's a 114-game season, an 82-game season, or a 50-game season. They are going to play because nobody makes anything and nobody gets paid anything if they don't.
So where are we at with that negotiation right now, Joe? Because I've heard, some rumblings from both sides, from the Players Union, from MLB. Where are we at as we stand? You said there's been some developments in the last 24 hours. Where do we stand right now?
Well, last night or yesterday afternoon, the Players Association submitted sort of their proposal back to the league, and then there was a response this evening that sort of indicated that the owners might just go ahead and shorten the season, because under the agreement from back in March, late March, the March 26th agreement with the union, apparently the commissioner's office has the right to unilaterally decide, well, the season's going to be 50 games this year. The big concern for the players is that they had agreed to this prorated salary, and if they played half a season, they'd make half of their salary. Well, the end run around it for the owners is to cut the number of games even fewer than 80 or 82 games or whatever, and go ahead and play 50, and you only have to pay them for that much.
So what's the next step now?
The next step is the owners sort of come back and they negotiate back with sort of their thoughts on what the players have proposed. I think really if they want to get things started by this target date of July 4th, and you want to have a spring training of any sort of like 3-week minimum of that kind, you got to get things going by the middle of June, right? June 10th. So I would think that this weekend would be critical for a decision to come down.
Hey, Joe, I was going to ask, have you been in contact with any of the players during the time off?
Yeah, actually, the Indians have been really great. I've talked to a lot of the reporters around town, even in other sports and other beats. The Indians have been above and beyond getting us access to some of these players while they're spread around the country at their homes or training and working out in Arizona or Florida or Texas, wherever they've been. We've talked to, Hoynesy and I have talked to Adam Simber, Adam Plutko, Carl Willis, Nick Wickgren, Greg Allen. We've done podcasts and interviews with all these guys, even Mike Freeman. I know you guys had Freeman on a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Great guy to talk to. He's great. But yeah, it's been really good. The access that we've gotten to the players on Zoom calls throughout the off season here and throughout this quarantine. I'm scared for what is going to happen with all these protocols when and if we do get to go back to the stadium and go back to the ballpark. I'm certain that we won't be allowed in the clubhouse, but I'm hoping that we get some sort of access to players to interview them and to bring you their stories that we haven't been able to share while everybody's been spread out across the country.
Are you just going to be like in a different part of the stadium doing a Zoom call with Jose Ramirez?
If that's what it has to be, then that's what it has to be. If we have to be in separate rooms or whatever they have to set up, that's great. But we just want the ability to be, as baseball writers, there's more than just what you see on TV going on at the park. Even if there's not fans in the stands, we want to be able to bring that to you, and hopefully they include in whatever decisions and protocols they have moving forward, they're going to include us in those decisions. And that's not even to talk about traveling to other cities. Who knows if we're going to be able to do that.
You could incorporate some drones with microphones on them. That's what they could do, is just have each of the media outlets has their own little drone that comes into a room. That would be kind of creepy for the players, I'd imagine, have all these drones aimed at them with microphones, right?
It's a hard pass.
The team history with drones right now, probably not all that great. We're gonna try to avoid any sort of drone interaction.
Chris just got unfollowed.
In the past, but...
Unfollowed by Trevor Bauer.
No.
Right. For about the 50th time.
Oh, are you kidding me? Trevor had ever followed me in the first place. What are you talking about?
Joe, listen, everyone listening to the show, make sure you go out there and follow Joe Noga on his Twitter feed. He puts out a bunch of really good stuff, especially as baseball, as it hopefully gets here sometime here in the near future. A lot of Cleveland fans in the past, especially the last couple of years, have kind of they've been hard on Tito and the Tribe in the early days after opening day, that we get off to a really slow start. Even though we didn't really last year, the negativity was just like so crazy. Do you think a shortened season can benefit Tito and the Tribe at all?
Yeah, I definitely do, especially considering you'd be starting it in July. So you're skipping the cold months of March. And you remember back when we complained about starting the season potentially in March? Wouldn't that have been great to be able to do that? It seems so ridiculous that was the complaint, huh?
Oh,
Stupid poetic justice.
But yeah, I think you skip all that stuff with, Santana having to struggle through the cold months because he doesn't like that, and whatever the case may be, and everybody in the park being miserable. I think just that alone would help them get off to a better start. But in a shortened, compressed season schedule, 80 games, 50 games, whatever it's going to be, you've got Francisco Lindor at the top of the lineup. If he gets hot, if Jose Ramirez just, continues to sort of figure things out the way he did at the end of last season, those two guys at the top of the lineup, they've got a pretty decent lineup to go. And then you add in the potential of Shane Bieber, Mike Clevenger, Carlos Carrasco, and in a pitching rotation like that, there's a lot to be optimistic about in a shortened season, in a compressed schedule where every game counts and your starting pitching is going to be that good.
Once we start playing ball, is there a player on the Indians you think that's going to surprise some folks?
Well, I think Franmil Reyes sort of gave us that sneak peek in spring training when he came out and just started ripping the ball all over the place. He has just got natural power. He's just such a big, strong guy. And I'm excited to see him for, any amount of time, any length of time. We only got 58 games of him last year, and he's definitely one to keep an eye on. I don't know. Delano DeShields, as far as surprise people, I don't think a lot of people are expecting much out of Delano DeShields.
Yeah,
I think he could be a real good addition to this lineup, and really sort of the Indians were at their best back in 2016, back in 2017 when they had a Rajay Davis who was elite speed, and Delano DeShields brings that to this lineup. If he gets on base, he's a game changer with his speed, and I think he's a guy who could definitely surprise some people in this lineup.
Joe, we were talking to Mandy Bell, which seems like a decade ago, but I think it was just in the early spring, and it was Franmil Reyes. It was Franmil Reyes.
That in between?
Yeah, go ahead.
Was that in between her visits to Panda Express?
Yes, gotta work in Panda Express every time we're ever on.
Yes, but this was when Franmil had come into spring training and had lost like 20-25 pounds, fantastic shape. Have you had any chance to interact with him during quarantine? Is that still the case, or has Uber Eats and a lot of sitting on the couch kind of affected those 20 pounds?
Well, Uber Eats and a lot of sitting on the couch. I thought you were talking about me. I mean, that's fully describes exactly what I've been doing. As far as Franmil goes, he's been back in the Dominican. As far as I know, we haven't really talked to too many of the Dominican players. Tito and the coaches have been in contact with them on Zoom calls, but a lot of those folks, especially a guy like Emmanuel Clase, they were sort of hard to get in touch with because of connection issues or whatever that case may be. So I don't know personally what Franmil's been up to. I know that in the off season when he lost all that weight, he said the sweets were the big temptation for him. So he really had to avoid that. But he also said that he had to drive 90 minutes each way to get to the Indians practice facility where he worked out every day. So that level of dedication and commitment is what he was, sort of down with. And I have no doubt that he's been able to maintain whatever weight he took off or put on or whatever he did in his training regimen. That's the kind of discipline I expect from him.
I think I'm at the quarantine 15, so good for him.
As we all are. So, Joe, we assume there won't be any fans in attendance at games this year. It's looking to go in that direction. But do you think the Indians can find any way to get John Adams in the ballpark safely?
I have it on good information that is something that's in the works. I don't know if John Adams himself will be in, because John Adams himself, could qualify for the sort of at-risk category for COVID. I don't know. He's up there in his retirement age. So I don't know if they would have a live John Adams in person out there in the stands, but they've definitely talked about piping in sort of that John Adams drum beat. They've got recordings of it. They've got him a virtual John Adams, or hey, maybe John Adams watches on a Zoom call and he decides when to beat the drum. But whatever the case may be, we will definitely hear the drums of summer at some point coming out of Progressive Field.
Hologram. We need a hologram John Adams out there. That would be awesome.
Like Tupac, yeah.
Yes, exactly. You're with me on this. Come on, I'm thinking outside the box. Drones, holograms. We're gonna bring this thing, man.
I went to.
We don't need fans to have fun.
I went to Vegas many years ago, and there was a Michael Jackson holograph concert that we went to. It was fantastic. So yes, I think they could do it. So Joe, Chris would.
You guys think?
Yeah, go ahead.
You guys think about all those other things, thinking outside the box, the cardboard cutouts that they've had in the stands at the Korean baseball games, if you've seen them on TV.
Yeah.
Could you imagine some of the faces we could put on the cardboard cutouts? We could have Bernie Kosar sitting behind the dugout. Ooh. Just crazy stuff. The faces on the fans on the cardboard cutouts that you could see at Progressive Field games on TV once they start playing.
I don't know what it would cost me, but I would make up so many of my AV of Cigar Guy. Cigar Guy would be in every single shot, no matter whether it's down the first base side, third base side, sitting behind the plate. There would be 50 of those at every single game. That would be fantastic.
I'm sure they would be happy to put him in. They'd be happy to put him in the upper deck for you. That'd be fun.
That's exactly right. Hey, and I'd pay him for it so that we could pay Frankie Lindor.
We're chatting with Joe Noga. Go follow him on Twitter at Joe Noga, CLE. So Chris has been nudging us here in the studio all this entire interview. He really would like you to elaborate about.
I shouldn't have brought up Frank.
About how this delayed season affects Frankie Lindor and his contract situation.
Kill me. Gotta talk. Every single time we talk Indians.
Yeah. I'm going to rip your heart out here, Chris, but I think with the economic impact of this, not just on baseball, but just across the country, I think it's a very bad sign for anybody who has any sort of hopes of re-signing Francisco Lindor, keeping Carlos Santana even on a contract option. The Indians aren't going to be able to afford a $17 million contract option next year. If they've got to cut payroll again. You're going to see a trade of a Mike. If you're going to see a trade of a Mike Clevenger, I'm really going to stomp on your heart here.
God!
My God! I'd stop it, Frankie. No one's asking.
All right, it was great chatting with Joe Noga. We'll talk to him sometime later.
Jeez,
I'm just trying to be realistic
we
here.
can put on right now? Where's Cato Kalin? I like Cato Kalin's energy a lot better than Joe's. We'll bring back Cato. Go ahead, Joe. Tell me some more bad. I know we don't have any money. I know our owners aren't going to spend any money. I know we're going to trade everybody. Do we have a chance at the playoffs before we trade away the entire team?
I think with an expanded playoff format this year of 14 teams, the Indians are very likely to probably qualify. Yes, absolutely.
There we are, man.
No.
But there's the positivity I needed. Come on, do you really think they're going to deal Clevenger?
I think you have to. He's going to come into a situation where in arbitration, if he performs this year the way that he has, in arbitration, he's going to command as much money as Frankie made this year. Clearly, he'll be a top 5 starter in the American League.
Oh man, am I depressed?
So if you're looking to be more depressed than 2020, go follow Joe Noga on Twitter at Joe Noga CLE. Oh, Joe, how have you been doing in quarantine, man? How's the job? As the reporter for the Indians, how you holding up, and where can everyone find all of your work?
Cleveland.com/tribe. We do a daily podcast during the weekdays, about 20 to 25 minutes. Myself and Hoinsey, which has been fantastic. Hooking up on a Zoom call with Hoinsey every day and just getting even the off-air stuff it's been magical. And every day we've been doing these on this track history posts. So I'll ask Hoinsey about, he told me a story the other day about interviewing Joe Carter at the old stadium after a game. And Carter told him as he walked away that his fly was down the entire time. And Hoinsey couldn't stop laughing about it. And I'm just like, that's the most Paul Hoynes thing I've ever heard. It is. He's an absolute treasure and a joy to work with. I really have enjoyed it. And just, seeing his face every day on a Zoom call as we record this podcast has been great. So that's been really getting me through this quarantine. And throwing catch in the yard with my kid, trying to keep him ready for a baseball season. 11U travel ball has been a lot of fun as well.
That's awesome. All right, Joe, we greatly appreciate the time. It's been too long. Love to have you on as we ramp up for this season.
You guys are my favorite Monday night podcast show. I love it. I tune in every week.
You could do a post-mortem with us later on in the season about all the players that we've lost. I can't wait, Joe.
Joe Doga, everyone.
I'm sorry. Well, sorry to stomp on your heart again, Chris.
Joe, appreciate it.
Looking forward to Tribe Fest next year, baby.
I'll buy the beer.
There you go.
There we go. Joe Doga, everybody. Thanks, Joe. One of my favorite guys in Cleveland covering the Tribe. Fantastic stuff from Joe.
Absolutely. And always brings you up a little bit, doesn't it? Here we go. We start off the show talking about really serious stuff, and then we think, okay, we'll talk Indians. This is kind of fun. We think baseball's starting up, and then Joe just comes hard with the negative news. Clevenger? I haven't even been talking about Clevenger.
I didn't see that
now
coming.
He's bringing that up. Oh, my gosh, man.
The week. Shout out to the comment section. John, one of our most loyal followers. Thank you. Appreciate all those comments. Jeremy talking Tribe here. It's a shame we can't keep good players in Cleveland. Yes, it is a shame. I didn't see that Clevenger talk coming. That threw me for a loop. So 2020 continues. Let's move on to some Cleveland headlines.
Dave, it's the unofficial start of summer, and Cleveland Clothing Company has you covered with all your warmer weather needs. They have a great selection of Cleveland-themed tank tops, tote bags, sunglasses, beach towels, and more. You can visit any one of their locations once they open back up, like downtown on East 4th, Summit Mall in Akron, in Shaker Heights, or by the Big Play Studio in Crocker Park. As always, you can check them out online, clevelandclothingco.com, and remember to use our promo code BIGPLAY20, where you will get 20% off your purchase.
That's right. Please go support them. They've gone through a crap load of stuff this year. Family-owned business, local Cleveland people, awesome shirts. Go check them out, please. All right, we don't do this very often, Chris. You're gonna be very happy because the NHL, the what, has announced a plan to return this year. I didn't even know it was the NHL season. If all goes well, they will jump straight into a 24-team playoff. All Eastern Conference teams will play in one city, and all Western Conference teams are going to play in another city. Columbus is still in the running to host the Eastern Conference. Chris,
as predicted on this show, I said the Columbus Blue Jackets were a playoff team, and here we are.
So how excited are you for this, Chris? This is kind of cool.
I'm excited for anything professional sports right now. So I think this is fantastic, man. They could play this at any point, and I am there for it. They could play this on a Tuesday afternoon, and I'm tuned in. Forget about the rest of the world. I need live sports. I'm excited to have sports of consequence that are actually live, and this is great. If the NHL can come back, and if they could do it in Columbus, how great would that be? You know, a city where we were one of the first ones to shut down things. Remember the Arnold Classic? When they shut that down because that was an international thing and you didn't want to bring the COVID in and then spread it out to everybody going home. And that was a huge loss for Columbus. So you take that, fast forward a couple of months, and now we're talking about having all the NHL games potentially here. I don't want to get my hopes up, but boy, that'd be a nice little redemption there.
How mad will every other city be that the Blue Jackets will game?
Who cares? Who cares about the rest of the NHL? Suck it. I mean, come on.
Yes.
Seriously. I mean, it's not like the Blue Jackets are like, you know, what the Red Wings used to be, or some of these other teams that are like gifted with, you know, they were born on third base and think they hit a triple. I mean, the Blue Jackets, we've had a hard road ever since that we came into the league. We took the longest to get to the playoffs. It took the longest for us to get a playoff win. And you know what? If we get gifted now having home field throughout the Eastern Conference playoffs, man, that's awesome. That would be awesome.
Do you think it matters? Is it a home field advantage with no fans? I guess a little bit. I don't know.
You'd think they're sleeping in their own beds, presumably, or at least their apartment that they've got on the side there downtown in the Arena District. Yeah. You know, and then you'd have the support of the local fans in that maybe not inside the arena, but certainly when they're around. I'm sure there'd be like rallies outside, even though you probably shouldn't do that for COVID. I can still see where that would happen. So I think there's got to be some positive energy, even if there aren't fans in the stands, of just being in the same city as you are based.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's talk some Browns. I need some positivity from Bree. I just noticed that the sibling revelry brewing company, Spiked Seltzer that I'm drinking, that I stole from my wife, is green, the can, so it's looking at that, you can't really see it. So sorry about that, everybody.
Ghost beer.
All right, so a graphic was going around the internet listing NFL teams in, you know, that each state thought were most overrated. The Browns were the most popular choice, probably going back to last year, followed by the Cowboys, Packers, Seahawks, Ravens, and Rams. Is this just typical Brown slander, or do you think it's actually a compliment? Is it a chip on the shoulder, kind of like Baker Mayfield's looking for us to come out here and beat all these teams?
Okay, first of all, this is BS. I must have missed this whole whatever this was that got released, but we shouldn't even be in consideration at all for this. And I feel like it's people just essentially being annoyed because we have the most loyal fan base. And that's why everybody gets mad at the Browns, because we just stick by them regardless of how bad they are.
All right, so gut check time.
Yeah.
This is gut check time. Gut check time.
Bree, put it out there. Most overrated NFL team if it's not the Browns.
Oh, I gotta think about this one.
So here's the list that was on this horrible, jaded thing that went around the internet. Cowboys, Packers, Seahawks, Ravens, Rams were right behind the Browns. Just say the Ravens.
I know, I want to so bad.
There's an obvious answer here. Come on.
It's the Ravens.
Oh, that's a good one.
Chris, you're going a different direction here.
Come on.
Cowboys?
When you proclaim yourself as America's team and your owner drafts from his yacht that cost as much as he bought the team for, yeah. If you don't win the Super Bowl every freaking year, then you're overrated. And the Dallas Cowboys have not been able to get back to the sacred Super Bowl. So every year they don't do that, they are overrated. And they will eternally be that way as long as they continue to call themselves America's team.
Let's keep talking Browns here for a second. So sticking with the Browns, this season's top pick, Jedrick Wills Jr. He went viral earlier last week here, splurging on a very blingy necklace. Many were mad online on Twitter about how he spends his money. If you were 21 and you were the first pick in the NFL draft, what's your first big purchase?
First of all, can I say how much I hate the offseason?
It's the
This
worst.
is what you get in the offseason. I hate it so much. I really do. I don't know. It'd probably be something like that. I guess I'd probably buy something for my parents. I don't know what it would be.
Oh, look at you, McNeil.
Well, that way I can splurge on myself and not feel guilty. So it's actually, it seems like a nice gesture, but it's really in a roundabout way a gesture for me that if I give them something, then I feel less bad about buying all kinds of stuff selfishly for myself.
Would you buy your mom a pool?
I need to. Like an in-ground pool. No more of these buying. We got a 24-foot diameter pool that we're putting in right now. The thing is massive. And at that point, it's like, just go for the in-ground. And we've been doing this for years and years. It's grown from like a little kiddie pool, of course, when I was a kid and liked it, to now they've got the grandkids. So now we got these huge ass pools that we're putting up out there. And every year we take them down, throw them out, and then go buy another one the next year at my grandpa's house. And that's becoming old.
Were you out there grading the sand? I saw the picture.
Oh, yeah. Every time Dad and Mom play that game where it's, hey, you want to come over? We'll have the kids over. We'll make lunch. We'll have a nice. You get over there. Oh, that was all a trick to put up the pool. So I was the sucker this year. Hopefully my brother's the sucker next year, or my brother-in-law. It's just, it's going to be great once it gets up. We broke part of it, of course.
Of course.
We already had to get new parts for this damn thing. But hopefully by the end of this week, we may have it up. And, of course, then it's going to rain for a month. So can't wait. Love Ohio. Go summer.
2020. Bree, what would you buy? First big purchase if you made millions of dollars one day in the NFL draft.
Listen, I'm not mad at him for buying his sparkly chain. I was mesmerized by it.
No, God, no.
So, it can't be mad about that. Probably an expensive handbag.
Same.
I wonder how many players.
Is that a purse? I don't even know what that is.
Yes, a purse.
Okay.
It's a satchel.
Or a fanny pack. I do like fanny packs.
Oh,
wow. Diamond-studded fanny pack. All right, I like it.
Oh.
All right, let's move on to the Cavs real quick for like 30 seconds. Because another Cleveland athlete made some news spending money this week. Andre Drummond left a $1,000 tip at a Florida restaurant. Really, really cool stuff. His actual bill was $164. He's getting paid $27 million this year. The waitress down in Florida put it out on Facebook or Instagram or wherever it was. Really, really cool story there. If either of you guys worked in service industry, restaurant industry? I have not. My wife did.
This?
Wait, I didn't know you worked at Arby's.
Oh, yeah.
What? Okay,
yes.
Let's sidestep here for a little bit. So tell me about Arby's. When was this? What did you do?
Last year. It was tough times. Tough times.
I love Arby's.
This was in high school.
Okay.
I was a student athlete, but my parents had me get a job on the weekend. So I had to I usually worked on Sundays, and I worked the drive-through, or I was in charge of the fryer.
Ooh.
And I've told this story multiple times, but I would oftentimes cook a little bit extra of the curly fries or the mozzarella sticks so that they would die and you couldn't serve them to customers because then we could eat them. But I loved it. I ran that drive-through. It was the best.
Favorite order at Arby's?
My favorite were the senior citizens that would come through they had like the little gold card for like the 50-cent coffees. But I would say the most it was like the roast beef sandwiches, the 5 for $5 sale. I mean, it was popping. You had to have extra staff on hand, only one Arby's sauce per roast beef sandwich. I remember that specifically.
Do you know what's a very underrated sandwich from Arby's and just in general in fast food? Their original that, yes, I grew up in high school getting that all the time. But their original breaded chicken sandwich, I think it rivals the Wendy's and Popeyes of the world. Not to put a hot take out there, it's fantastic.
I will also tell you another fun fact about Arby's.
Please do. I could talk Arby's for 30 more minutes. Let's go.
You have to be 18 to use the beef slicer. So. And I was only 16 at the time, so I could never actually slice the beef.
You said it so proudly that you were in charge of the fryer, but that was just because you weren't allowed to do anything else.
Right.
Oh, that's funny. Chris, did you ever work in Arby's or anywhere else?
No, the closest I think I worked at a Meijer in the deli. So I did have to make some pizzas meat. And stuff. And I was slicing meat. Yeah.
Were you 18?
No, that's kind of the thing with this. So my best friend in high school, his dad was the manager at this Meijer, and he's now retired. So I don't think I'm getting him into trouble, but he really didn't care to send me through any of the training because they needed help. And it would always be when I'd come home over college break. So it'd be, during the holidays or during the summer, and especially during the holidays, they didn't have time to train me. They were just like, throw me out there. And rather than me waiting on some of the deli folks to make up the meat and, slice it all up, I would just take it upon myself to do it because otherwise the customers would be mad. So what I learned, though, is that I absolutely hate people who order chip chop meat. If you ever see chip chop meat, that's really small and just
I love
it. Takes forever. It takes forever to slice that. My arm hurts still from slicing chip chop meat. Oh my God. See, you never probably had to do that at Arby's, did you? You didn't have to chip chop the meat. But when you actually chip chop the meat, that takes a long time. If you're getting like a pound of meat, if you're chip chopping it, that's going to take you a while.
I don't even know what chip chopping is.
It's really, really, really thin. It's so thin it doesn't soften.
You're so mad about it. I love it. This is traumatic for you here.
It'll piss me off.
You would have hated me.
Between that and then the other big thing that I didn't like there was, being part of the food service, there was a union, right? And you had to pay your dues into the union, okay? And, unions do some good things. But for some kid like me who's just working there over the summer in college, all I see is the money that's coming out. I don't really see the benefit here and now. So one of the union reps came in one day and he goes, "So what has the union done for you lately, son?" And I said, "Absolutely nothing. In fact, the money that you've taken out could have gotten me books for the whole year." And the union rep just took one look at me, turned around, and walked out the other way. So
not his audience.
Yeah, that was my brush with the union at Meijer.
Oh, that's funny. So yeah, no memorable tips. Any tips that you ever got at Arby's, Bree, in the drive-through window?
Maybe a phone number.
Yes.
I mean, like, how low do you have to be to give a girl a phone number working the drive-through at Arby's wearing a polo shirt? And I think I had a visor, really an Arby's visor. I was always so embarrassed when the cute guys would come through. But
we have the meats.
Don't you have that on recording?
All right, we're going to add that as a soundbite next time. Okay, would you rather? So when major sports come back, it's all but certain. Everyone knows this. There's probably not going to be any fans. Would you rather have them pump in fan noise for the TV as we're watching out on the deck and the patios here, or no crowd noise at all so you can kind of hear the different aspects of the game, the players, whatnot?
I would have to go with no crowd noise. I don't know. Something bothers me about trying to pump in fake fan noise when you know that there's no one actually there.
The Atlanta Falcons.
Yes.
Remember that?
But there are actually people there.
Yes.
our guest from earlier, Joe Noga, just texted me. The beef slicer is Bree's new nickname. Bree the beef slicer.
I hate him and love him all at the same time for that.
All right, change your handle, Bree.
Bree at beef slicer.
Chris, what do you think about that? Do you want crowd noise, fake crowd noise while you're watching on TV? Or, I mean, I feel like they could kind of kayfabe that pretty well.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. It's going to be weird at first, but from what I understand, when they've done it in the past, they can kind of change it up and make it so it makes some sense. And I don't know. Right now, I've got the NFL on, a game from last year, and there's no sound on at all. And, I can't take my eyes off of it. So I can imagine when it's really has some consequence to it that it doesn't really matter much with the crowd noise. I'm still going to be watching.
I mean, 2020, don't you think that we have the ability to superimpose crowds into the actual stadiums where it looks like they're there? Like, how cool would that be?
Like Madden?
Yeah, like exactly. Put like fans from the 90s, like put like the old mullets into the fans, into the arenas. I think it would be hilarious.
Big Dog.
Yes.
Big Dog comes back to lead the pound.
Oh, it'd be
old
awesome.
School.
They could do it. They could do it. Little creativity.
John Big Dog Thompson coming back. Put him right in the first row again.
All right, Chris, I got a would you rather for you. Would you rather upset J.R. Smith while he's eating hot soup or while he is sitting in his truck?
I want no piece of J.R. Smith. My God, that guy, he just cracks me up, man. I don't know what it is. I guess it's winning the championship and just his whole style, but he could do no wrong in my book. And I saw that story yesterday where the dude's smashing up his truck and he goes out and just wails on him. And I just thought that was hilarious, especially after J.R. Smith had just called for everybody to be peaceful. So just that fact, I don't know. I just lost it with that. With all the other emotion of the day, I thought that was hilarious. And yeah, I'm not messing with J.R. Smith anytime soon.
J.R. Smith is one of my favorite Cleveland athletes of all time.
Yeah. Yeah, he's so great.
Love JR. All right, Bree, I got one more for you. And this is $1 million question. So you get $1 million if you can win one of these events, okay? So would you rather compete against Baker Mayfield in a wedding dance-off or a high jump competition against Myles Garrett?
Okay. I'm going to lose at either one of these, so there's no right answer for this, but I have a way better shot at beating Baker in a dance competition because I'm only 5'1", so I cannot jump high at all.
I've seen your videos. You could dance. You could take Baker.
I could take him.
So,
he's got a lot of rhythm. He's got a lot of white boy rhythm.
We would put Nelly on, then you would destroy him.
Yes, he's done. Baker, done.
Oh, I love it. All right, let's move on to some.
Can't compete with the beef slicer.
That'll be my new dance move.
Everyone, do the beef slicer.
Slice and beef. Slice and beef.
Bold prediction, Deb.
Bold prediction.
All right, bold prediction time. Chris, you got a bold prediction for us?
I don't. Let me think
Perfect.
of one, though.
Bree, do you have a bold prediction for us?
They are going to announce. I've got it. You had to give me a second here. They are going to announce that Columbus is going to host the first round or all of the rounds of the Eastern Conference NHL playoffs.
How cool would that be? Bree?
I've got nothing, you guys. I'm sorry that I... But actually, wasn't I right from last week's bold prediction?
I don't know. I don't keep track of these things. Yes, just last week times 2. Sometimes we write them down. Sometimes we don't. Looks like no. I have no idea what it was. But yeah, definitely it's going to happen again. I think I'll go with mine. I think that the MLB is going to come to some type of solution here, and we're going to get an announcement that baseball is back, and it'll happen on Wednesday.
Looking forward to Wednesday. Big day. Baseball comes back Wednesday. Here we go. By the way, I love that Joe Noga said that his favorite, I thought he was going to go really detailed. My favorite Monday night show to watch at 9
p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Twitter.
Yes.
I thought he was going to keep going, but he didn't. But
yes.
Appreciate you, Joe. Appreciate you. All right. Great show, guys. Thanks to everyone who tuned in. Everyone be safe out there. Stand up for people. And huge shout out to Cleveland Clothing Company. Huge shout out to Shaq News. And to all of you guys, we will see you guys next Monday night at 9 p.m.
Shout out Beef Slicer.
Hi, everyone. Tim
Beef
Kinsler
Slicer.
from NBA Jam and NFL Blitz. You're listening to the best podcast on the air. Boom shakalaka.
Okay, do you need medical attention?
Yes.
What is wrong?
I don't know. I ain't no goddamn doctor.
Free shakalaka.